Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Can You Beat Fate's Grand Order Without Gacha challenge. In this part, we'll be tackling just the London Singularity as the majority of you voted on the poll that I made. From here on out, each Singularity will be one video, so keep those likes and comments going and I'll keep this series alive. Also, if this is your first introduction to this series, I highly recommend you go back and watch the first 2 episodes to get a better idea about the challenge. Or you can check the rules down below in the description. So, and without any further ado, let's begin. For beating Okeanos last time, we get David, and he is actually a vital character for this run. His second skill, Harp of Healing, gives everyone on the team a one-time dodge, perfect for dealing with AoE-able phantasms, which would potentially be a field wipe. After that, we hop right into London, because I have no intention of getting my ass beat again by some random quests. The Singularity starts with Ritsuka somehow having prophetic dreams of a little assassin doing a little assassination. So they wake up and go to the Rayshift's room. Romani seems a little sus about Solomon, whom we heard about in the last Singularities from the 72 Demon God Pillars. Then we Rayshift in. We bop to the music for a bit, before we are hit by the first note. Oh, assassins, huh? Okay, well, good thing we have Nisocrest, I guess. Mash and Ritsuka discover that somehow Ritsuka also benefits from Mash's poison resistance skill, before we see a familiar face. Weirdly enough, the conversation was basically,
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Nothing. Me? Just hanging around.
Of course, right after she leaves, we get assaulted by a new enemy type, the Automata. They're a non-issue despite having the potential to deal some disgusting damage. Next we encounter Homunculi. Unfortunately, they're Lancers, and you all know what happens to Lancers. Before we continue, I would like to talk about today's video sponsor. You. Thank you for being here. Just you watching is enough, but if you want to help me improve the quality of the videos by getting better voice recording gear and commissioning artists, you can join the channel as a member to get early access to these videos, starting from the next one, as well as a unique badge and access to more emotes in future live streams. Alright, let's get back to London. At this point, I realized that I still didn't claim my once per Singularity welfare 4-star, so I went to the shop and got myself Caster Shutendoji. She has great utility with her NP seal and crit rate lowering, as well as potential for great damage against assassins, which we know that there will be a lot of in this Singularity. We do some upgrades, then we fight our first ever Helter Skelter. Oh, sorry, I mean Mechanical Golem. We totally won't see these guys a million times throughout the story. They're not a big issue. Mash almost goes down, but the big boss eventually falls to the Jack the Ripper makes her first appearance, almost insta-killing Mash on the spot if it wasn't for Ritsuka warning her. The first boss fight of the Singularity begins, and we make effective work of Shutendoji already. The fact that her MP grants her true hits will probably be very useful in future fights where enemies like to spam dodge. Anyways, Mash gets taken out in the battle, but other than her, there were no casualties. Jack makes her escape, then Mordred appears again, properly introducing herself and leading us through the fog back to her base of operation. With our new friend support, our level cap rose even higher, stopping at a solid 57, so it's time to get some upgrades. Next up, we meet Jekyll. Jekyll here claims he is a normal human rather than a servant, and honestly, that would make a lot of sense considering how shit he is even as a servant. Even the writers felt ashamed to have him show up as a proper assassin, so they made him into a normal human. Some segue later and we're back outside to deal with some more filler. Then we get to, right. This guy exists. Really, he's not worth the screen time, so let me spare you the details. He killed our informant in this area, so we kill him. That's it, that's his role in the story. Turns out this informant he killed was actually the Victor Frankenstein, creator of the artificial human who shares his name. That's right, he created Fran, and she's right here actually. So we take her back with us to Jekyll, and after his inspection, we understand that she also isn't a servant. Some talk later, and we're out on another expedition where we piss off Mordred and she attacks us. We get a forced reset because the French support servant reached the front line and was attacked, but we get her pretty easily on the next try thanks to David's Harp of Healing. She calms down and Mush gets another ascension and her third skill. Great! After that, we arrive at our destination, where we find a Smurf. Talking to this Smurf got us attacked by a book, so we beat it up. The Smurf introduces himself as Hans Christian Andersen, then casts a McGibble at the book, causing it to transform into a little girl. We also beat her up. Afterward, we grab the Smurf and go back to Jekyll. Nothing particularly interesting happens, so the next day we leave to hunt down Jack the Ripper, and after a few filler battles, we arrive at our destination, finding another irrelevant caster who sicks Jack on us. I expected this fight to be a lot harder, honestly. It was 3 waves, with Jack on the second and caster on the third, but we ended up beating them both with very little resistance, mainly thanks to Mordred's AoE and Shuten's versatility. Oh well, P makes a run for it after Jack is defeated, but it doesn't really matter because only 2 nodes later we find him again. Bro is not great at running away and hiding. We catch him trying to capture Shakespeare and pull him over to their side. Thank goodness we beat him to it because Shakespeare is a terrifying enemy to have. Man, Paracelsus is so ass. Even when he hit us directly with his noble phantasm, he still couldn't deal enough damage to kill. Oshiwaka, get this man out of here. We yoink Shakespeare, taking him back with us, to base. Unfortunately, he's one of those servants that is terrifying as an enemy, but is terrible as an ally. So all he does is yap with Andersen for a bit before we head out to the Mages Association HQ. Unlike him, the Smurf actually has some uses in combat, so we take him along for the following battles. Helter-skelters aside, the HQ is actually completely messed up, but the Smurf says that there has to be something underneath, so we start digging. Books are attacking us, but Mordred is illiterate, and with some help from Ushiwaka, we push through. We find what we're looking for, whatever that is, and the 2 authors stay behind to investigate it while we protect them. Jekyll also decides to transform into Hyde and join us. Bro doesn't even have a noble phantasm, what's the point? I tried keeping him alive, but his damage was so bad he failed to kill the enemies fast enough and ended up getting smacked. Once the battle is over, Hans drops some crazy lore. Apparently, the Holy Grail War summoning system was ripped off from an older, more powerful system meant to have 7 servants fighting alongside one another against a single threat, rather than fighting one another. It was what the mages called the greatest summoning spell imaginable. Very interesting. And then we're put right back into filler with more and more helter-skelters, which, after examining them closely, we realize that they're noble phantasms of a servant, who Fran can somehow track. So we take her along, and after a boss fight with a big helter-skelter that almost caused a reset, find out that the heroic spirit is actually called Charles Babbage. It was around this time that I realized that my mysterious idol X's second skill gives her a buff against mechanical enemies, so I kept including her whenever helter-skelters or automatons are nearby. It doesn't really take long to stand before the man himself, and I had to reset because I forgot to put Mordred on the front line. God damn it. Second try went way better, Ushiwaka once more proving why she's the best rider. No shade at Asolfo, of course, but she clutches up so many times for me it's unreal. Anyways, with Babbage down, he tells us to grab the Holy Grail from underground.
What the hell is this?
And after a few filler battles, we stand before the final villain, Zolgen Makiri, though he looks much younger now. He transforms into a demon god pillar and the fight commences. We lose. But that was on me. I wasted Astolfo's 3 dodges by giving him a Harp of Healing before his Noble Phantasm. So by avoiding that mistake, on the next try, we managed to beat him. Now you'd think we'd just grab the Grail and dip before any problem arises, but...
英知はここに天の雷はここに私はニコラテスラ天才だ
And he has madness enhancement too. Of course. He pisses off and we actually have to fight Homunculi after all that talk. Amazing. After dealing with a billion fodder, we catch up to the guy and now it's time for Hector to show us what he's made of. And bro did not disappoint. he totally smoked him. But of course, because the story isn't long enough already, Nicola dips again, and we have to pursue him with even more filler battles. At least this time we have two new servants who were summoned to hold him off while we get there, Kintoki and Tamamo. And honestly, I think the dev team just realized that the Singularity cast is pretty shit and can't all be carried by Mordred, so they just slapped Tamamo and Kintoki there to put them in trailers and shit. They basically do nothing except stall him off screen, and then when we finally get there, they're not even selectable as friend supports. So I decide to level up Hector's second skill to level 6 so that he can stun and drain enemies more often. Then we start the so-called Grand Battle. Yeah, bro stood no chance again. What a letdown. But the Singularity isn't even over. You know why? Because... Anyways, with the King of the Storm defeated, we can finally claim the Grail and end the Sing...
助けを超え、強制を上げろ。苦悶の海で溺れる時だ。いいぞいいぞ。そうでなくてはな。我が偉業、我が理想、我が誕生の真意を知れ。この星は転生する。あらゆる生命は過去になる。祭壇を照らすかがり火だ。盛大に燃えるがいい。
Solomon goes down and declares that he actually just came here to take a piss, instead saying that he will shit on us later when we finally get to the Temple of Time, if we make it there. But with him gone, the Grail is retrieved, Mordred bids us farewell, Singularity resolved. Wait, what's happening? Who's knocking on my door?
Kita!